Good morning, everybody. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about money management. Everybody thinks that you can win money betting sports by picking winners. Well, that's partially true, but not everyone picks a lot of winners, especially if you're doing volume. Well, if you're doing a lot of volume, you're probably looking at 56, 58, 59%. Maybe you can squeeze up to 63, which I've done many, many times. If you're doing short volume, let's say 10 games a week in basketball or baseball, but even less than that, of course, in pro football, and of course you add in the college football, you might get up to 10 or 20 plays, but still you're not going crazy. I know people who bet 30 plays a day, and all they need to do is hit 56%. They make a lot of money as long as they're managing their money, which is why managing money is sometimes even more important than picking winners. Now, if you pick a lot of losers, no matter how you manage your money, you're not going to win money. Okay, so let's get that straight. So in order to manage your money, you need discipline. A lot of people say you should never bet more than 2% of your bankroll on any one play. There's other people that say 5%. 5 is high if you're betting a lot of games. If you're only betting 1 or 2 games a week that you really like, okay, I can get away with 5. Because, it takes 20 weeks if you're betting 5% of your bankroll every week for your bankroll to totally disappear. Now, you got to remember this. You have to set your bankroll. So whether it's $100, $1,000, or $100,000 or $1 million, 2% is 2%. It's not the same amount of money. It's just 2%. 5% is 5%. So as your bankroll diminishes when you're losing, 2% is less. As your bankroll goes up, 2% becomes more. Same with 5%. So I want to impress, and there's some people that have unlimited money. It doesn't matter. They lose $10 million. It's like nothing. But most people, that's not the case. So what we have to do is we have to understand that this is an investment portfolio. So what I want to impress upon you is, and a lot of people have families, kids, everybody expenses, not the 1%, okay, they're different. But the bottom line is you should have a separate bankroll for betting, wagering, investing, and another bankroll for taking care of your family and your expenses and your rent and your mortgage and your car payments, and set aside for emergencies. And hopefully you have good insurance. It covers doctor bills, et cetera, et cetera. If you're older, you might have Medicare, all that stuff. So what we're talking about is life. We have to manage what we're doing with our money seriously. Now, if you're just a $20 bettor and you don't give a damn whether you win or lose, you just want to have fun, you want to have skin in the game, a little action, I understand that. And that's okay. And none of this really applies to you because it's not that serious. I am a person that has made a living investing, gambling, whether it had been pool or darts or betting sports since I'm 16 years old. So yes, I've done other things. So people who say, well, he's not a professional gambler because he makes money from a lot of things. Well, that's true. I grew up on welfare and food stamps and government assistance and stuff like that because we have nothing. So in those days, we depended on the government to eat. Big block of cheese and powdered milk back in the 40s and 50s. Yeah, I'm that old. I'm happy and proud to be that old, but I am that old. So in any case, it's serious business. I never forget that the first time I won quite a bit of money playing pool, I was 16, which was 65 years ago. Amazing. And I'm not going to mention too many names. I mean, it's a story I'd love to tell, but I won 6,000 playing this guy pool, a very famous man, nice man. And the backer that I had his name was Butch, and my dad, who had several jobs, but on the weekend he was a musician and he'd play at this guy's club and nightclub, bar kind of club. And they were good friends. And this guy, Butch, took me to meet some people and he got me into a pool game and the guy wanted to play for money. And I said, I'm 16, I have $5 in my pocket because this was in 1959. And Butch said, well, I'll back you. And we started to play. And 6 or 8 hours later, I don't remember. It was a long time, but at 16, you don't know how old. You can play all night. You can do everything all night. It's just you're 16. But we won $6,000. And the deal was that Butch said, I have no risk. I have no downside. I couldn't have paid anyway. I had no money. But if I won, I got 25%. Well, 25% is $1,500, $1,500 in 1959. It's a lot of money. And my dad, mom, and everybody, none of us had any money. When I went home, the first thing I did is I put the $15 on the kitchen table. And even though I had just won a few weeks earlier the junior state championship for teenagers in Pennsylvania, that didn't pay very much. But when I put the money on the table, that was the first time they really believed in me that I could play. And I could play. I was really good. That's another story. Go down the road. There's a lot of stories behind that played out over the years, but it was pretty cool. But that was as much money, or that was as half much money, almost as half. It wasn't fully half, but $1,500 to my dad, who was making maybe $5,000, $6,000 a year. That was a big chunk, big help. And from that day forward, it was a different scenario for a few years. But back to money management and sports betting. You must control what you do with your money. Yeah, you make a few bets the first week of the football season, baseball season, and you're ahead. Your bank rolls up a little bit. You can increase your bet, but only stay within that 2%. And if that's totally uncomfortable for you, okay, maybe 3%. But I understand not everybody's serious and it's just fun, but you have to go with that because the discipline, the stick-to-itiveness, yes, you're going to have to figure out who to bet on. Now, it's either your handicapping skills or yours buying a service. And as I go forward with this, I'm going to talk about buying services. For the most part, it's not a good idea. Now, yes, I ran the biggest sports service in the world for decades. Made a lot of money. Here's the problem. If you don't have a big enough bankroll to bet enough money, it's hard to overcome the expense of paying a service. It's the same thing if you're betting on Wall Street and you're paying somebody for advice, which there are advice services. It's the same thing. You have to overcome the cost of that advice. And there's nothing wrong with buying advice. I mean, we do it all the time. We buy a book, we buy a magazine, we listen to a podcast, we watch a TV show. Buy a service, buy a subscription. I mean, there's great things out there, services out there. You can buy subscriptions to Action or all these places, but it costs money. Now you have to overcome that cost by winning. Well, you're already, for the most part, laying 11 to 10. In baseball, sometimes you're laying 12 to 10. And sometimes if you're a big enough player, you can negotiate it down to 104 or 105 instead of 110. That would be better. It would be easier then to overcome the cost of a service or advice. So in that respect, it's very difficult. So right now I have 30 days for $30 in baseball. Now I've made a lot of money, so I don't have to charge a lot of money, and I don't need the money necessarily to live, but I'm not going to do it for nothing, but I am doing it on the cheap. So, and I do have some expenses because people do work for me and I have their payroll to pay, and you have to buy your website and all that stuff. There are costs. They're not high, but it's not like the old days. Today, most services are charging little money and they're advertising supported. Or there's a few that charge little money and have tremendous volume and they can overcome everything and do very well. It's not like the old days at all. Before the internet, before cable TV, all that stuff. So I'm stressing money today. I'm talking about money. I want to make money every time I make a bet. And when I give you a play, I'm betting it. I've always done that. Sometimes I regret it because I don't always win. Like right now, baseball's a little sketchy. Basketball's been tremendous. I mean, 65% of the NBA plays all year. Lately, we've been like 70 to 80%. And now the playoffs are starting. So we're selling the playoffs at jimfeist.com for $49 for all the playoffs that begin this week. On Proline TV, on YouTube, we don't charge anything. Yes, eventually, if we get enough subscribers and likes and et cetera, we'll become a revenue partner and we'll make some money back that way. But right now, it's all expense. And I help pay for the bills and donate a lot of time to doing it because I enjoy it. I do what I do. I like what I do. I've been doing it since I don't know what else to do. I mean, I'm not going to go flipping burgers at Denny's. I guess I could probably get a job doing that if I wanted to. I'm pretty good at making burgers. But the bottom line here is I want to make you money, and I don't want you to lose your money. So if you were to hypothetically buy my NBA package or my baseball package, which are $49 for the NBA and $30 for 30 days, $30 for 30 days in baseball. The first thing I want to do is make you lose less money than you would if you did it on your own. That's the first goal, because if you do it on your own and you lose a lot of money, there's nobody to blame but yourself. If you pay me $30 and I lose you a lot of money, you can blame me. That'll make you feel better. But the idea is that I can win you some money, at least to overcome the $30 for the baseball, the $49 for the basketball. And traditionally, I do. I've had some very good playoff seasons in the NBA, and I've usually start out pretty hot in April. A little sketchy this year, but there's been a lot of bad weather, a lot of cold weather, a lot of wind. The games are different now. You got the crazy bats, which I don't think really matters that much. You still got to make contact. But the media likes to talk about it. But, you got the pitchers that go 4, 5, 6 innings, if you're lucky. And then you get the bullpens, and then you have to figure out, did your fresh arms in the bullpens pitch yesterday, and will they be available today? It's a different game. It's not like the old days. There's a lot of proposition bets that you can make that in the old days you couldn't make. First fives you couldn't bet in the old days, now you can. So there's lots of ways for us to piss away money if we don't know what we're doing. So handicapping is important, but you must control your bankroll or you'll go broke and then you won't be able to play. Or you'll be digging into your family budget, and I don't want you to do that. I'd rather give you your money back than have you do that. So that's me. That's today. This is lesson number 1, money management. And we're going to proceed with this, not only for baseball, not only for basketball, not only for tennis or golf, but through the football season. And we're going to be doing live wagering podcasts as well, because that's important. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make a live wager today in the Masters, which I generally never do, because I'm a big live wager in point spread sports, because you can really get some. I mean, look at the Final Four. All the Final Four teams were ahead at halftime and lost. That sets up, I mean, that's a beautiful scenario, and it was a beautiful scenario for me, because a lot of those teams that went down 10, 12, 14 points, I felt that were too good to be losing by that much, and it was just aberrational runs and trends within the game that would be overcome by the sheer talent and the equality of the talent between two teams. So I'd be taking a team plus 13.5 when I only took 6 in the beginning. I'd be taking a team plus 14 when it was basically a pick 'em. I mean, then you can do that on the money line. You can do it with the point spread. There's a lot of money to be made doing that, and I want to teach you how to do that as well. It's going to require you to open up accounts with books. And there's a lot of states that, of course, have books that do this: DraftKings, FanDuel, et cetera, BetMGM. I'm not recommending any of them because I don't have apps with them. But, with being around 60 years, 6 decades doing this, I have a lot of places that I can play without having to go through the states. So anyway, it's fun. I love doing this. I'm rambling a little bit, but if I didn't screw up the technology, this will actually be out there and you'll be able to watch it. I'm not real good at that, so sometimes I do screw up the technology. But anyway, that's lesson number 1, a little conversational, not to the point, but that's how I am. I'm kind of off script a lot. Anyway, thank you. We'll talk to you soon.